Well, it's time to close out the NFC North, and with that, we're going to go to the first place NFC North team. And the team I continued to say last year was the worst 13-3 team in NFL history. No disrespect, Packer Nation, but they were. They were the worst 13-3 team, I believe, in NFL history. And just look at the NFC Championship game if you think I'm wrong. And their schedule. No brainer. So, without further ado, though, let's see if their draft class will help that situation. And we start off with their first round 26 overall pick, Jordan Love. And wow, then I guess that answer will be a no. He's a quarterback out of Utah State. I gave this pick a C, and to me, that's generous. Career, he's a 61% completion percent, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. He did play in the Mountain West Conference, and with that, you expect Carr-like numbers. When Carr was at Fresno State, he put up numbers that were crazy, and now I would say Carr average to above average or slightly above average quarterback in the NFL. You may hate that statement, but that's another time. I'll discuss that. So, you look for better numbers when you play in non-Power 5 conference. So, to me, already, yikes. Last year, not good year for him. After that pretty decent year in 2018, came back 2019 and stunk up the joint, and Utah State was hurt by that. Love is easily fooled by defenses. Zone coverages can really hurt him, and he only completed 32% of his deep passes, which is not a good mark either. He makes some really wild and sloppy throws and could be pretty irresponsible with the ball. I think Green Bay is going to have their hands full trying to develop this kid into something that they would want to be eventually their starter. So with that, to waste their first-round pick on him, I think it's a mistake. There were other quarterbacks they could have drafted even later, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy that's going to help develop a quarterback. I don't. So with that, I think Green Bay would have had to wait until they were in a position to draft a quarterback that's going to be pretty pro ready and not need that mentor, because I just don't think Rodgers is that kind of guy. So bringing in Jordan Love, I think, is interesting. And if you want to move on from Rodgers, just go ahead and move on from him. But bringing in this guy, I don't think that was the right move. It might be a little insulting to Rodgers to even bring him in. And then to bring in somebody of this caliber, I think was a mistake. I mean, you're going to follow up Rodgers with, you would hope, somebody a little bit better. So, really, we'll see how they develop him, but I think they got a lot of work to do with that kid. That takes us to their second round, 62nd overall pick, A.J. Dillon, running back out of Boston College. I give this pick a B. He's a really good back in college. He had 4,382 yards, 38 touchdowns. He did it in my play, and which is, in my opinion, the weakest Power 5 conference. That's the ACC. But I don't think that's a big deal. I think, with his size, 6 feet, 247, I think he's a power back. He wasn't really asked to catch the ball, which is fine. So they're not gonna bring him in. I think Aaron Jones will be more their pass catching back, but it's good to have a back that can get you that 4 or 5 yards solid and do that job. So while it's not a need, it wasn't a horrible pick. So for that reason, I had to give it a B, because in my opinion, it's really not a need. So back to back, no needs. Third round, 94th overall, they picked Josiah Dugara, I don't know. That's my bad. Tight end out of Cincinnati. Gave this pick a C because, again, with him, I think you're getting strictly a blocking tight end that really kind of adopted pass catching a little bit late. And that being said, he's really not an explosive receiving tight end, and he doesn't really bring down the contested catches. So it'll be interesting. He could be a good tight end too, because for blocking reasons. But I think him running routes, they're gonna have to be careful and choosy, and to make sure that he's not in a position where it's gonna be a highly contested catch, but maybe fly under the radar and find himself wide open or pretty loosely covered. So, interesting pick for them. He was projected to go later, so it might have been a little bit of a reach for Green Bay to draft him in the third. But, sometimes if you think you've got your guy, you don't want to wait. So, we'll see how he does for them. Then they didn't have a fourth, but they had a fifth, in which they drafted Kamal Martin, linebacker out of Minnesota. And here's a guy that was on nobody's radar. I gave this pick an F. He wasn't even projected to be drafted by a lot of sites and analysts that I was reading. The worst thing is that you look at his potential and there's really nothing to get excited about. In college, he wasn't even a standout. He's not impressive on the stat sheet. And I don't think he plays very well. He doesn't play with good instincts, and he hasn't had a good football IQ according to things that I've read. So with that, I think it's a complete bust and waste of a pick in the 5th round for Green Bay. 6th round, 192nd overall, they picked Jon Runyan, guard. Projected probably to me, I believe he'll probably play guard in the NFL, but at Michigan, I believe he did play tackle. So, but I think by moving him inside, I think that's going to be an advantage for him because it's going to help him kind of fix some of those mechanical errors that he had at tackle. And he does play hard. He has a good football IQ, and I think he does have the potential to be a rotational or backup, very, very solid backup lineman. Reliable dude. Again, like I said, he really plays hard. And you gotta love the head on the shoulders for Jon Runyan. So good kid, and I hope he able to find a roster and be reliable for Green Bay moving forward. Round 6, again, I think they had, what was it? Okay, so 3 picks in the 6th round and 2 in the 7th. So we'll head to their second pick in the 6th round, which was Jake Hansen, center out of Oregon. I gave this pick a C because he was a 4-year starter for Oregon. That being said, you would wish for somebody that's durable and, plays like he does to be a little bit more athletically talented and for their skills to be more polished. He was very inconsistent even with snapping the ball. He would snap them too low, and then in 2019 he was snapping them too high. So I think, backup potential. That's all I see with him. I don't even think he's got a shot to develop into a starter. There's just way too many problems with his play to even start looking or thinking about him being a starter. So that's why I gave that pick a grade of a C, which takes us to their next pick of Simon Stepaniak, guard out of Indiana. I gave this pick a B+ because he does have the strength and experience that you like to see out of a lineman. Very good frame. And I think he's a reliable run blocker, and I think, at guard, there you go. And I think he does need to work on his pass blocking and some of his smaller technique issues, but overall it was better than the center from Oregon. So good pick for Green Bay there in the 6th round, which takes us to their final 2 picks, which were in the 7th round. And the first one was Vernon Scott, defensive back out of TCU. I gave this pick a B. I liked it. I think Scott does have enough talent and skill and experience to earn a spot on that roster and perhaps become a reliable backup for Green Bay. That's why 7th round, I gave it a B. 7th round, 242nd, Jonathan Garvin, edge rusher out of Miami. Inconsistent is the thing with him, so that's why I gave it a B-. But here's a guy who is talented. He is talented on the field, but his inconsistency has a really deeper cause, and that would be lack of effort and just lack of drive, I guess you could say, to play. And so, if Matt LaFleur really gets on him and that coaching staff in Green Bay really gets on him and they can get his interest level and get through to him that this, he's in the NFL now and he needs to play hard, then he could be very talented, but I think that talent's going to be tough to get to. So with that, I gave it a B-, but that potential on him, it could be way higher. Overall for Green Bay, though, I gave them a D+. They were very sloppy at drafting for needs. They were very wasteful in some of their picks. They really, when you look at next year's roster, I wouldn't say it got any better for next year. They drafted guys where you're looking, okay, maybe this guy can develop later on, but they're really not bringing in any talent that's coming in next year to boost that team and maybe, push them into the playoff hunt, and even further the Super Bowl hunt, which is too bad. They had a lot of picks, and you would have liked to see them get maybe some more pro ready or hit those needs, which they didn't do. And, you just look at the end of the day, they got a lot of guys where potential, maybe, or potential long way away. So, what can you do? I gave it a D plus simply for that reason. It was sloppy. They didn't get needs. They didn't draft pro ready. And a lot of the guys that they did get with the potential, it's questionable or a long way away. So with that, they got a D plus from me, which was good for last. So I believe the ranking was Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. So overall, the division, the division did not do a very good job draft-wise. So it'll be interesting to see how those 4 teams and their draft classes do next year. So coming up next, though, we're going to close Week 5 off with the running back and fullback reveals to see which running backs, which fullbacks make my NFL 100 all-time team. So stay tuned. Thanks.